Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind the Country Chic Cottage. Today we're going to talk about the new Cricut Convert to Layers feature, and you may see this when you're uploading your image and wonder why you have multiple layers there as an option. Well, I'm going to walk you through the tool, how to use it, and then all that you have to do is to test it for yourself. Now, first of all, as of the filming of this video, it is only available on mobile, so you would find it in the iOS as well as the Android app for Cricut Design Space. It will be rolling out for desktop. I will be showing you the screenshots from my iPad for this tutorial. Now, it will work similar on desktop, so you can use this tutorial either way. The second thing I'm going to talk about before we dive in is where to get the images to use for this tutorial. I personally always want to promote responsible internet usage, and that includes the use of images. So for example, if you're using this feature for images you took yourself on your phone, of your pet, of some flowers, of a butterfly, of a bee, that would be legitimate use because you took those photos yourself. Some of the images that I'm going to show during this tutorial came from a site called Pixabay. Pixabay does offer royalty-free images, so they are free for use. So I could use those for my personal use for any kind of project I wanted to use. So I went ahead and downloaded those, and I'm using those examples as I upload those to Cricut Design Space. So I would encourage you to use this tool for two types of images. Those images you take yourself and you own, or those images that you have a license to use. Only use it in those two cases because you don't want to get in trouble down the road with using images that you're not supposed to use. Now, really quickly before we get started, you do need to have your app up to date for this feature to appear. So if you're trying to walk through these steps and your screen doesn't look like mine, when you click upload, you don't get that multiple layers option, then it's probably because your app is not up to date. And again, this is only on the app version, so the mobile version. So for iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and Android tablets. That's all it's going to work on as of the filming of this video. It will open up to desktop users soon, is what I've heard. So hopefully if you use Cricut Design Space on desktop and have your Cricut Access subscription, you will see that soon. But be sure to update your app if you don't see what I'm showing on the screen. So now let's dive into the Convert to Layers feature in Cricut Design Space and see how it works. First, you'll open up Cricut Design Space. Remember, this is only on mobile for now. It will be on desktop at a later date. Then you're going to click Upload, and you're going to find the image on your device. I'm going to start simple and move my way to more complicated things. All of the images I'm using I got from Pixabay.com. Pixabay is a great source for royalty-free designs and photos. This was an illustration. So first we want to remove the background. You could remove the background from this. I could do the automatic background remover since the Convert to Layers feature is for Access subscribers, and the automatic background removers for Access subscribers. That definitely works. I could also just, for this case, just kind of select the background and remove it manually. Now, some of these little cactuses would be cut off because it was a pattern. So I can actually just click the erase button here. I can increase the size of that eraser, and I can kind of go around and remove some of these. So I can just leave maybe a couple. Because this is repeated, we definitely don't need all of these. We can just copy and paste once we get our layers. Once I have that cleaned up and just the cactuses that I want to convert to an SVG, I can go ahead and click Apply. Now here's where that new feature comes in. So we're going to pick the multiple layers options instead of the single layer or the flat graphic. Single layer would be just cutting around the outside. Flat graphic would be for print and cut. So we're going to choose multiple layers and click Next. And here's where you tell it whether it's a clip art or photo. This can give you different results. So for instance, I want the lines on this. So I want those dark green lines. If I was to choose clip art, then it gets rid of those. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to photo. This menu is found by just clicking that edit button at the bottom. And you can also decide whether you want your output style to be stacked or sliced. Stacked will be a base layer underneath, and the vinyl, paper, HTV, all the other colors will be stacked on top of that. Slice would mean that each layer is sliced out of each other. I tend to like stacked SVG files, but slice might be relevant for something you're working on. So you can choose either one of those here. Across the bottom, you can see all of your layers. You can also click the layers at the bottom and you can simplify your design. So let's say I don't want 9 layers to this design. I can go down to 6, and you can see how it changes on the screen. I kind of like that at 6. I could definitely go up to 7, 8, see how that looks. So you can kind of pick and choose what I like. I'm gonna go with 6. That's the simplest I think I can get this. Still has my dark green lines on the cactuses themselves. I can also click this button with the 4 squares, and I can see each of the layers on my screen. I can also click each layer individually. So I'm gonna get a pink base layer with green on top, then a dark pink, a yellow, a green, and a dark green. So we can kind of see how these layers are stacking up here. So let's go ahead and click edit and do sliced. Now we can take a look at what the sliced layers would be. So you can see that we would get smaller pieces where we would not have to stack those up. And again, we could go and simplify this. This is the 9 layers. So let's look at the 6 layers where it's sliced. I would get the flowers in one, the insides of the flowers, the yellow flowers, the green, and the dark green. The only thing I really don't like about this is the green versus the dark green, but I do like that the flowers are individual pieces. So you can pick and choose here which method you would like, and you can switch easily between the two. Which one do you like better? Which one is going to work better for your project? I'm gonna go ahead and stick with the sliced and 6 layers. I think that'll work okay for our example. So we can see from our picture, everything looks good. Now there is also a wheel that says advanced along the bottom. If we click that, you can see a few different things. Now these really help, I find, with more photos, not necessarily illustrations. So I am gonna go through these on a photo. We're gonna kind of look and see what each of these do. However, if you're having trouble at this point with your image, you can try some of these different options. For this illustration, it's fairly simple. I'm gonna go ahead and click next. You do need to type an image name that is required and then click upload. Now here is that design on the canvas. So now if I pick the design and click layers, you can see it came in just like I had it on the screen there with each of those layers, and I chose this 5-layer option for this example. Now I can pick these, I could resize them, I can make them larger, I can make them smaller. I can do everything I would do with the SVG file or something that's already in Cricut Design Space. So now this is like any other file, and I can use it just like that. I can go ahead and click make it, and I'm gonna pick on a mat, click confirm, and I have my Cricut Joy Extra picked, but any Cricut machine works for this. I just kind of wanted to swipe through the layers so you could see them. So here are each of those layers. We saw them on the screen as we were uploading, and now you can see each of them here ready to be cut. So now we could cut each of these with our Cricut and assemble that cactus. So now let's try another illustration. So I'm going to try this illustration here, and the background's actually already removed, so I don't have to do anything at this point. However, I do want to erase this little flower that's kind of out of place to me. Otherwise, this illustration is ready to upload. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply. Again, I'm going to choose multiple layers and click next. Now, again, the clip art is chosen. However, you can try the photo. We can kind of see what each of those looks like. Let me try clip art again. Let's go with clip art and increase the number of layers and see what it looks like. So I kind of like the clip art with the increased number of layers. Let's go ahead and do a photo, increase the number of layers, and that's what it would look like. So whichever version you like the look of, you could go ahead and go with that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the sliced again, and 9 layers. So now I can kind of see what that looks like. I can see my layers. Everything looks pretty good. I may go down one color, take out some of these colors from around the outside. Let's go down one more. So this is 7 layers. So I would have 1 for the outside, like the dark colors, greens, reds, pinks, a lighter pink, and a yellow. So it's pretty good, and it looks pretty good when assembled. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with that. Now this one has quite a few really fine details. Sometimes those fine details don't cut as well with the Cricut machine. You can use this advanced tab to try to eliminate some of those. So let's kind of simplify it a low amount. You can see it's cleaning it up a little bit. Let's simplify it a little more. It's cleaning it up even more. But now when you take a look at that photo, it may look a little different to you. You may like it, you might not. I think this result is pretty good, and it would make my cuts a bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to that really complicated portion here, and let's see what happens if we reduce the noise. You can see that it gets really simple. If we go back to our picture, still looks pretty good. So I might go back to that and reduce the noise a little bit more. You can see it didn't do as well, made it a little more complicated to me. So I'm going to go with that low noise. And then if you do smooth, I'm losing some of the detail when I do smooth. So let me go back to smooth none. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. If we go back to reduce noise none, you can see we're getting different results every time. What you need to do is kind of play with these options and get a result you're happy with. Be sure to click each of the layers. Make sure you're happy with the layers. Make sure there's nothing too complicated that you're cutting. I'm fairly happy with these layers at this point. I am getting quite a few little pieces of green, but we could contour out these as well. So once we get this on the canvas, we could pick the green layer, we could do contour, we can get rid of those little pieces as well. So that you have a couple different options there. But I am okay with this result. Let's say I'm ready to upload. We're gonna go ahead and click next. Again, you'll need an image name and click upload. And you can see our wreath here, and we could go to layers, and you could see each of those layers that we just saw on the upload screen. So this one is ready, and we can go ahead and click make it. And now as I flip through these layers, you can see them all on the mat. If we go to the layers panel, isolate that green layer, click actions, and then contour. This is where I was saying you could get rid of some of these later on. So I could get rid of a lot of these small contour pieces and not cut those. So if those are not important to my design, I could get rid of them within Cricut Design Space as well, instead of getting rid of them when I'm uploading. So now if I click done, that green layer is a little bit more simple. And I do have some of these out of order as far as the stack, but you can see the general idea here. So now let's try a photo upload. I'm gonna click upload. Then I found the file on my computer. I'm gonna use this puppy image. I'm gonna go ahead and use the automatic background remover. Then I'm gonna use this erase feature, and I'm gonna use it to isolate the head as much as possible. So I just want the head for this example. So once I have his head isolated, I'm gonna go ahead and click apply. Again, we're gonna use the multiple layers feature and click next. And now we can see what is happening with this version. So I'm gonna go ahead and change this one to photo. You can see that really changes things in this case. Now we can do the layers, and we can simplify this a little bit. Still looking pretty good, still looking like our dog image. Let's go to that advanced, and we can see that it's kind of changed a little bit here. And we can start playing with these options. Do we like these versions? Do we like how this is coming out? I'm really liking that. So I'm gonna go ahead and click the layers. The layers are fairly simple. I'm gonna click each one. Not a ton of horrible detail. If I look at that all together, looks pretty good. Looks like my dog. Again, I could change this up a little bit. I could add more colors, play with these advanced features, change them up. You can keep playing with this until you're happy with this design. Once you're happy with it, we're gonna go ahead and click next. Now we can see that dog brought over here onto our canvas. We can go ahead and click make it to see this. Now I did change my machine type here so we can see this a little bit better, so I could make it a little larger for you. And we can see all our layers, and they are fairly simple. Now this one is on a 12 by 24 mat because this largest layer is fairly large. So then I could click next and keep cutting on this design. But you can see how this works with even photographs that you might take, say with your phone. So let's just do one more photograph for illustration. So I'm gonna go and click upload. And I'm gonna use this photo of a butterfly as my last example. So we're gonna go ahead and try the automatic background remover. And it did a fairly good job. I might want to add these antenna back in, or attempt to. So let's see if I can get those. I'm gonna make this as small as possible and just drag my finger along both of the antenna. Then we can go ahead and click apply and see how this looks. So overall it's looking pretty good, so we're gonna go ahead and click next. So now we can kind of see what this looks like. Definitely doesn't look good with that few layers, so let's go to this version. It is looking better. So let's go to edit, change it to a photo. I'm going to try the sliced version here. It's still very, very detailed. So you can see this photo has a lot of details, a lot of shading. So it is giving me very detailed layers. I'm going to try to go down some layers here. Still very, very detailed. So like something like this would be very difficult. This, very difficult to make, cut, weed, all of that. So we can kind of go here and play a little bit with these settings and just try to get it a little bit better. This is looking much better. We could probably handle this, but what does it look like when we put it all together? So it looks okay, but it is pretty far from our original photo. So once you start playing with this stuff and getting it to a point where you think you can make it, the original photo might be lost a little bit. Now what we can do is we can kind of eliminate some of these. Like I could eliminate this gray layer once I upload it. So if there's not an opportunity, if you can see that gray layer is available on that left hand side all the way down through there. So I really can't eliminate it on this screen, but I can eliminate it from my final image. So let's go ahead and upload this as it is. Go ahead and click next. And what I can do at this point is to click the layers menu. And let's say that gray layer, if I isolate it, just have it highlighted and click delete, doesn't make a whole lot of change, right? And then this green layer, I would need to make it probably that dark blue. So I could go to color sync and I could pull the green into the darkest blue here. So now everything is looking a little bit better and where I could possibly see that I could make this. So there's a few things you can do within the upload screen as you're uploading, changing the layers around. Then there are a few things you can do after you get it uploaded. You can eliminate layers, you can simplify layers, all to make it where you get the best cut file possible that looks perfect for your project. So as you could see, this feature isn't perfect by any means. For some photos, it might work better. Other photos, you might not be happy with the result that you get. Now, I have tried a variety of tools that claim to convert photos to SVG files. I even showed some of those in a previous video. I've used many more beyond that just to try different tools just in case I wanted to make a video on them. And I must say that the Cricut tool is pretty good for taking images and converting them to SVG files that are layered, because that process is difficult and it can also be hard to get an image out of some of those converters that could actually be used with a Cricut machine successfully. So I kind of walked through this, how you don't want a lot of those small little intricate pieces because they're going to be hard to cut, they're going to be hard to weed, they're going to be hard to place. You just don't want to have that happen. So with this tool, you can clean it up quite a bit right in Cricut Design Space to make a file that you can cut successfully. I do like that about this tool. Some of the other tools that I've tried online are just missing these cleanup features completely. And then the files are so huge when you upload them to Cricut Design Space that you just don't have enough memory to clean them up. So this tool solves a lot of those issues that I was having with other tools. However, no tool is going to be perfect. There's no perfect way to convert a photo to an SVG file, especially those more complicated photos. But hopefully this gives you some options for your projects, especially if you want to use your own photos to make things like out of vinyl, out of HTV. This is definitely a feature you want to take a look at. Now, this feature is only for Cricut Access subscribers, so you will need a Cricut Access subscription to use this feature. Now, you might get a free trial with your machine. Be sure during that free trial period, give this feature a try and see if the monthly cost is worth it to you or not. If it is, I will have a link in the description below this video where you can sign up for Cricut Access to use this feature and any others that are for Cricut Access subscribers. You also get access to their image library as well as their fonts. Now, I must say their image library has been getting very good lately, so if you haven't looked at it lately, the files that they have in there have been getting better and better. Like every time I look, I just feel like the files are getting better and are things that I would actually use personally. So if you haven't looked at Cricut Access recently, this feature may be an excuse for you to try that. So now, if you have any questions about the Convert to Layers feature, drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you like this video, if it helped you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.